Hello, my name is Alessandro Bellantoni. I'm the Director of Policy and Partnerships of the OGP Support Unit. Today, I'm particularly pleased to open this webinar because it is on the Open Government Challenge. This is truly one of the most amazing opportunities for the open government community to show the transformative impact that open government reforms can have on our democracy and society. The world, as we know, is facing a host of crises. We've just emerged from the global pandemic. We are still facing inequality, geopolitical shifts, the climate crisis, and obviously we cannot ignore the layers of complexity added to all this by new technology. But we know that it is through hard times that we see the power and potential of open government and democracy. Now, from experience, we have seen that when governments and civil society work together, OGP members implement more ambitious and impactful commitments. These commitments have the power to transform our communities, to reinforce our democracy, and really to deliver better societal outcomes for all. But to achieve all this, we need to be more ambitious in the way we design and implement our reforms. It is really our time now to meet the moment. And this is why the Open Government Partnership has launched the Open Government Challenge. This was the result of a long consultation with stakeholders and key actors that was done to create the OGP 2023-2028 strategy, and through which the open government community has identified 10 key priority areas that we believe collectively have the potential to transform our society. These priorities are access to information, anti-corruption, civic space, climate and environment, digital governance, fiscal openness, gender and inclusion, justice, media freedom, and public participation. Now, the OGP Steering Committee and the Support Unit are calling the entire open government community to channel their ideas and energy into lasting reforms and initiatives. We must act together to make a difference. Now, to inspire you, energize you, and give you some concrete ideas on how this can be done, today you will hear from 4 global champions from all parts of the world that will tell you how they have developed and are implementing 4 challenges that they have submitted to the OGP Support Unit to be part of this new exercise. Hopefully you will find them, again, inspiring, and they will give you motivation and ideas to participate in the challenge. Obviously, many more countries have applied to the challenge, and we will give you more information about them through our social media channels and newsletter. So stay tuned. After that, my colleague Adna will give you a snapshot of how to take part in the challenge and other considerations you should keep in mind when you apply. Hopefully, you will find this webinar inspiring. Hopefully, it will increase the momentum for the Open Government Challenge. And if you need any additional clarification or support, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you very much.
Saludos a todos los amigos y amigas participantes en este encuentro virtual en la Semana de Gobierno Abierto, convocado por el Comité Directivo y la Unidad de Apoyo de la Alianza para el Gobierno Abierto. Cuando pensamos con co-crear junto a la ciudadanía una estrategia nacional de espacios cívicos y asumir este desafío de gobierno abierto, lo hicimos convencidos de la necesidad de erradicar las prácticas del pasado en las que se construían soluciones de espalda a los moradores de los territorios. Los gobiernos existen para y para las personas. Por eso, es imposible satisfacer sus necesidades sin la participación de nuestros ciudadanos y ciudadanas. Es por esto que en Tallinn, Estonia, en la 8ª Cumbre Global de la Alianza de Gobierno Abierto, en septiembre de 2023, la República Dominicana asumió el desafío de co-crear una estrategia nacional de espacio cívico. Nuestra incorporación partía de la experiencia positiva de muchos años de trabajo. Para avanzar en democracia y garantizar el desarrollo humano sostenible, es esencial que existan mecanismos robustos para la participación activa y la incidencia cívica de todos los ciudadanos. La Estrategia Nacional Cívica de nuestro país, en coordinación con proyectos del Ministerio de Economía, Planificación y Desarrollo y otros actores, sustentado en la Ley de Estrategia Nacional de Desarrollo, estableciendo como primer objetivo la democracia participativa responsable y como segundo, la cohesión del territorio. El valor que tiene esta iniciativa es su capacidad de transformar la participación y colaboración, ampliando los espacios cívicos para el contacto permanente de gobierno y ciudadanía. Es para nosotros una acción que fortalece la democracia y vamos a realizarlo. Seguros porque estamos de que ese fortalecimiento al sistema democrático garantiza la libertad y la igualdad de derechos de todos y todas. El camino que garantiza la igualdad de oportunidades que tenemos la obligación de construir si queremos un mundo mejor. Muchas gracias.
Corruption remains a considerable problem in Ukraine, despite government and civil society efforts to reduce it. Effective anti-corruption measures require systematic, coordinated, and prioritized actions by authorities, supported by comprehensive policy documents, which have been lacking in Ukraine. To tackle corruption, the NACP, along with Ukrainian civil society and international partners, developed the anti-corruption strategy and the state anti-corruption program for its implementation. These policy documents introduce a new approach focusing on improving the overall anti-corruption system and implementing sectoral anti-corruption reforms. Successful implementation of the strategy and program will increase government and business transparency, reduce the overall level of corruption, achieve crucial initiatives across 15 public areas, and save about $5 billion. To achieve such results, an effective mechanism for coordinating, monitoring, and evaluating the implementation of these policy documents is essential. To ensure the effective operation of such a mechanism, the NACP created the information system for monitoring the implementation of the state anti-corruption policy, which is unique in Ukraine. The information system consists of both closed and open part. The closed part is a platform for communication between the NACP and all implementers of the program measures. The open part is a publicly available source of exhaustive and objective information on the progress of the state anti-corruption program and program on its implementation. Another important function of the open part on the information system is public feedback on the implementation of the program's measures. To wrap it up, we have comprehensive policy documents based on new approaches to anti-corruption policy making in Ukraine, as well as convenient, transparent, and inclusive mechanisms for coordinating, monitoring, and evaluating their implementation. Making our government more open is one of our main goals as an anti-corruption institution. We've made great efforts to introduce our projects. We are proud of the results we've got so far and strive to achieve our goals. Hope that our initiative will inspire all members of the partnership to launch even more ambitious projects and motivate others to pursue new endeavors. Let us make our countries more open. Let us join the OpenGov Challenge.
El Poder Judicial de Costa Rica realizó una serie de talleres con ciudadanía para identificar cuál es la problemática que los aqueja. En este intercambio y además con varias investigaciones realizadas, se identificó que la transparencia, la rendición de cuentas y el retraso judicial son las problemáticas que la ciudadanía considera más importantes de abordar. A través de las problemáticas, el Poder Judicial identifica toda una estrategia en la cual se pueda abordar el rezago judicial para el mejoramiento y el fortalecimiento del acceso a la justicia. En ese sentido, este compromiso implementa diferentes acciones. Una es vinculada con el acceso a la información y la transparencia, es decir, poderle dar a la ciudadanía información real sobre el retraso judicial, sobre los indicadores por los cuales se miden las oficinas, pero además de eso, que estos indicadores y esa transparencia nos permita la toma de decisión. ¿Qué significa ello? Que se va a implementar un modelo de mejora Y es que a través de los indicadores se va a trabajar, identificar aquellos despachos que necesitan trabajar y generar planes de acción para mejorar y trabajar en ese retraso judicial. Esta estrategia de abordaje del rezago judicial para el fortalecimiento del acceso a la justicia en Costa Rica implica la conformación de un equipo ciudadano que acompañe el proceso, con diferentes acciones de co-creación, de consulta y de validación. Cada año el Poder Judicial cuenta con mayores expedientes judiciales, mayores casos que entran y además de eso la situación presupuestaria es compleja. Sin embargo, el Poder Judicial se compromete a trabajar el rezago judicial como una respuesta a las necesidades ciudadanas. El desafío de gobierno abierto insta a las instituciones a retarse a sí mismas, a analizar, a estudiar desde una mirada ciudadana cuáles son las necesidades de las personas y generar proyectos ambiciosos, de impacto, que generen un cambio y que respondan a estas necesidades.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak to the open government community about why we think in Finland that responding to the open government challenge is so important. People trust government in Finland, but they don't as much trust that they're being heard and that they can have an impact. We have an initiative, National Dialogues, that is a completely joint initiative together with the civil society. We, for instance, formed together with the civil society the operational group that supports the organizers of the National Dialogues. Anybody who wants can organize a dialogue, and anybody in Finland can take part in a dialogue. So this is completely done together with the civil society. We have 3 goals for these dialogues. So the first goal is that through these national dialogues, citizens are able and can participate in constructive discussions about important themes in the Finnish society. And our aim is specifically also to reach those who are less heard in the Finnish society. The other goal is that these also benefit the organizers, as they can use the information from the dialogues as well to their own development work and better meeting, for instance, their citizens or clients' needs. And also, of course, important to us in government, because these national dialogues provide us with very important information about citizens' experiments, citizens' feelings, citizens' ideas. And this is why we want now to expand the dialogues. We have now had about 800 dialogues, 200 different organizers. We want to have more organizers, more participants. We want to be able to more visibly show the impact of the national dialogues. And this we are working together with the organizers of the dialogues to do. And there is a quote from one of the participants in the dialogues that there is a huge need for these kinds of discussions in the Finnish society. And we think that also maybe in other societies, and therefore we are very happy that the Latvians have also organized their dialogues on trust last autumn. And we want to take this, our own initiative, even further with the committing it to the Open Government Challenge. So thank you for this opportunity. Thanks.
Hello all, my name is Adna Karamehich-Oates, and I am the Open Government Challenge lead in the Policy and Partnerships team at the Open Government Partnership. I hope that you enjoyed listening to those examples from different OGP members who, like many others, are pursuing ambitious reforms as part of the Open Government Challenge. So if you were inspired by those examples and are interested in having your government participate in the challenge, I'd like to share with you now some information about how to participate. And I'm going to also explain why this is an exciting opportunity for you and for your community. So the first question is, who can participate in the challenge? Well, any government institution across all branches and levels of government of an OGP member can participate in the Open Government Challenge. And we encourage members to participate in as many challenge areas as possible with ambitious reforms. Now, civil society is strongly encouraged to co-create and to support a challenge. And in fact, this is expected as part of the challenge process. But the reform must be owned and implemented by a government institution. Now, how to participate? So one way is to co-create relevant commitments in your OGP action plan, and I will explain how you can do that shortly. Another way is to submit a standalone action or commitment that's independent of the OGP action plan, and I will explain that momentarily as well. And the third way is to submit an entry for the Open Government Awards. We will be sharing information about this process over the coming months. The important thing to note here, however, is that these are not mutually exclusive options. So, for instance, you may be working on your OGP action plan and have a challenge commitment in the plan, but also want to submit an action through the standalone process. And that is possible. That way you have different options to submit something new or additional that's ambitious, even if your action plan is already being implemented. The standalone process also offers government institutions that are not part of the OGP action plan a way to work on an ambitious open government reform. So the point is that there's different pathways that also respond to the different timelines that members may be working on something ambitious. What reforms are considered eligible as part of the Open Government Challenge? There are 3 rules for eligibility. The first is that it must be a reform that advances the suggested actions for that challenge policy area. So you can find more information about what is part of these suggested actions for each challenge policy area on the OGP website. The second eligibility rule is that it must be an ongoing or planned reform, meaning it has future milestones. And the third eligibility rule is that it must be relevant to at least one open government value, so either transparency, public accountability, or civic participation. What you submit should really represent something ambitious. You've heard my colleague Alessandro mention that, and I've mentioned it a few times now as well, and that's because this is really at the core what the Open Government Challenge is about. So an ambitious reform could, for instance, represent, in your particular context, a possible game changer in terms of practices, policies, or the institutions governing a policy area, public sector, or the relationship between citizens and the state. Essentially, it's something that generates binding and or institutionalized changes across government. So that's one way that a reform might be ambitious. Another way that a reform might be ambitious is that it's something that no one else or very few in the partnership are taking action on. So again, I mentioned that the OGP website has information on the suggested actions under each challenge policy area. So I would encourage you to look there for what is suggested for something that you might be considering working on in the space of civic space or participation or climate and so on. Now on to the rules and the timelines for submissions to the Open Government Challenge. For commitments that are to be included in OGP action plans, They must follow the co-creation and participation standards and reporting requirements. They also follow regular action plan timelines and amendment processes. So if you want to add a challenge commitment to your action plan, it has to be within the amendment window, the regular amendment window. And IRM methodology, the independent reporting mechanism methodology, will be used to assess action plans. For standalone actions and commitments, these can be submitted through the standalone commitments form that's on the OGP website at any point. And this form is available in English, French, and Spanish on the website. We strongly encourage and expect that these commitments are done with collaboration with civil society. How will challenge commitments be assessed? Well, the independent reporting mechanism of the partnership will carry out a stocktake exercise at the midpoint and the endpoint of the challenge period, the endpoint being 2028. Actions, as I mentioned earlier, that are co-created as part of OGP national and local action plans will be part of the IRM regular assessment. And all challenge submitters, implementers will be invited to self-report on progress before this midterm and end of term challenge review takes place. So in summary, we have established several different options for ambitious reforms to be entered as part of the Open Government Challenge. And our goal is to really recognize and reward those that are working on ambitious reforms in the open government space. So by taking part in the Open Government Challenge, you have a political opportunity to fast track action and progress on something that is important to you by committing it to the challenge process and throwing essentially a spotlight on it. Related to this, ambitious challenge submissions will receive significant visibility as well as credibility being part of the challenge reforms pool that's part of this process. Just as we did with the examples shared earlier in the webinar, our OGP team will be giving special communications attention to challenge submissions, and we will showcase participants through OGP and partner events through, for instance, speaking engagements. By participating in the challenge, you will also benefit from technical and peer assistance that we are gearing towards challenge participants. And you will also have opportunities to yourselves lead cohorts or peers and share your experiences and learning as you implement your challenge action. Finally, challenge submissions will be automatically eligible for an award at next year's OGP Global Summit. So in addition to all of the above, you have the opportunity to be formally recognized by the global open government community. And in the spirit of OGP's founding notion, civil society participation in design and the implementation and evaluation of challenge actions will certainly be viewed positively as part of the evaluation process for the awards. So those are all the practical details, which you can also find on the Open Government Partnership website, on the Open Government Challenge page. And we hope that this webinar has inspired you. We are always here to answer any questions that you may have, so please do not hesitate to reach out to us to talk about this amazing opportunity. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to hear from you soon.